What's up guys, it's me Jeremy. It's no secret that China is the home of cheap clones and various other ripoffs for pretty much every product you can imagine, and video games are definitely no exception. And the reason for this is actually quite simple. Chinese copyright laws are for the most part pretty much non-existent, so people can get away with ripping off just about anything. It's very cash driven as far as the Chinese are concerned. If you're making money, then you're doing good business, and copying intellectual property only really becomes an issue if it's affecting the government. And since some of these League of Legends clones actually have 8 or in some cases 9-figure player bases, things that are as high as 10 million or more active players, I figured it would be pretty cool to dive into the world of bootleg games to look at some of the various League of Legends ripoffs that exist and which parts of the game they are most shamelessly copying. So the first game I wanted to cover goes by the name of Magic Rush Heroes, which isn't actually a MOBA game at all, but it's more like a combination between RPG and tower defense. It's developed by Shanghai Moonton and has over 10 million Android installs, and it's actually currently in the middle of a lawsuit issued by Riot Games. So yes, these guys are being sued by Riot. One of the few cases of a knockoff game that's probably not going to get away with it. Although the game functions quite differently to League of Legends, the main issue here is that the development team for this game didn't actually bother to develop their own characters. They simply just completely copied Riot's champion designs, changed their names, and called it a job well done. So a good example of this is Magic Rush's version of Lux, which goes by the name of Karna. Not only is her appearance quite similar, but even her abilities and her ability icons themselves are, for the most part, complete carbon copies. Instead of Final Spark, she has Magic Flash, which you can probably guess is this big light beam in a straight line. On top of that, she stacks a Prison ability, an AoE slow and explosion, and some ally utility as well. It's not only the occasional character that shares their design with Riot's champions either. Almost every single character in Magic Rush has either extremely similar visuals, extremely similar mechanics, or a combination of the two, compared to League of Legends champions. In fact, Shanghai Moonton even reworked the visuals for a lot of their characters in an attempt to differentiate them from the original designs. Lufia, for example, a character in the game, was changed from being this very obvious Ashe clone to a more traditional elf archer design, although her abilities are still extremely similar, featuring a volley, a long-range single-target stun, and just about everything else. Still, the lawsuit hasn't managed to take the game down yet, and if Shanghai Moonton continues to rework their designs, they might just be able to evade shutting it down in time. Either way, it's still quite hilarious to see these copies of the characters just so blatantly released in a new form. Now the next clone I wanted to cover goes by the name of 300 Heroes, which is one of the more commonly known League of Legends knockoffs, and it's gained a little bit of a notorious reputation in the media and has had a lot more publicity than some of the other games on this list. Now, unlike Magic Rush, 300 Heroes is an actual MOBA game that plagiarizes more elements than just League of Legends champions. So the map you play on, for starters, is just about an exact copy of Summoner's Rift, and the UI is almost identical to the old League of Legends UI as well. A lot of the characters in 300 Heroes are copies of League of Legends champions too, but with a little bit of a strange twist. For example, as Video Game Donkey was playing the game a while back in his video, you can play as this combination of Blitzcrank and Dr. Mundo of a character, except it actually is Shrek. It seems like the same story for every character. They plagiarize abilities from a League of Legends champion and then try to hide it by copying a different character from a different franchise. For example, you might want to play someone like Lysandra. In that case, you better lock in Gaara from the Naruto universe. Or maybe you want to play some top lane Rumble. Well, in this game you'd have to select Wally instead. It's actually quite hilarious and is definitely one of the more absolutely blatant forms of copyright infringement, which is honestly just so hilarious. Now, the website for this one does appear to be offline now actually, which suggests that something has finally been done about this particular copycat, although I haven't exactly found any lawsuits in particular. Now, the next absolutely shameless ripoff on our list goes by the name of D10. Although to their credit, they have seemingly attempted to change up the characters slightly, I guess, if you can call it that. Going through the character list, you can see that they're all copies of either League of Legends champions or characters from Blizzard. However, the development Douyi has clearly gone to some length to not only change the art style but swap some gameplay kits around so that they don't actually play the same way as the original League of Legends characters. For example, the character using Lux's appearance seems to function a lot more like Soraka in the trailer, and their version of Misfortune is more like a gender-swapped Lucian, or potentially Nova from the StarCraft franchise. Aside from the characters, there's also a lot of other completely stolen elements. For example, you can tell from the trailer that the map is the reworked Summoner's Rift, with the only major changes being to the type of monsters occupying the jungle camps. The sound effects are extremely similar as well. Could be a coincidence, so maybe I'm a bit hesitant to say that they copied them from League, but they also could have been made from scratch using League's sound FX as a foundation to build upon. As far as the in-game appearances go, this one definitely takes the cake for the most accurate League of Legends clone we've seen so far. I mean, honestly, these games are just so ridiculous, it's kind of unbelievable to see that they actually exist, and not only that, they have active player bases. Now our next game is actually quite of an interesting story, because if you really think about it, it's honestly not a ripoff in some way, I guess. Now most players probably are aware by now that the Chinese company Tencent owns League of Legends. They own Riot Games, which is part of what makes this next game so interesting. Now, King of Glory is a Chinese MOBA for mobile devices, and it's actually been one of the top grossing iOS mobile games in China. It's incredibly popular, has millions and millions of players that are still active, and as with the other League of Legends clones, it features a ton of things ripped straight out of League of Legends. The color palettes are identical, the map textures, the terrain are just lifted straight from League of Legends and tweaked in some minor ways. One example is the base designs. They're smaller and they feature no inhibitors or Nexus towers, probably to make the game times shorter since it's designed for mobile devices, but everything else from minions to champions and mechanics are almost exact copies of League's own designs, although they may use different names and visual appearances. So I mentioned earlier that King of Glory was particularly strange for a clone, and to some extent isn't even a clone, and that's due to the fact that it's actually owned and developed by the same company that bought League of Legends. Yep, King of Glory is owned, developed, and published by Tencent. It seems a little bit logical that they would of course have the rights to develop an official League of Legends mobile version, but for whatever reason they simply opted to make a complete clone and change enough to get away with it. After all, I guess they aren't technically stealing intellectual property since they kind of own it to begin with, right? So it is still a ripoff in terms of the sense of the word, however, they're not doing any copyright infringement here since they are the owners of League of Legends. Still kind of hilarious to see the stuff that goes on in China, that's for sure. Now our final game for today goes by the name of Mobile Legends 5v5 MOBA, which is another game developed by the same developer from the first game we took a look at in this video, Shanghai Moonton. And as with the first game we covered, Magic Rush, this is just another target of Riot's lawsuits over copyright infringement. So they are being sued, and hopefully they won't be getting away with this game for much longer. Now, although Magic Rush borrowed character design elements from League and simply put them in a different genre of game, Mobile Legends is actually a MOBA game that is completely based around League's design. On top of that, as with 300 Heroes, they copied a lot of characters from various franchises, featuring lovable champions such as Devil May Cry's Nero, Warcraft's Tyrande, and even Roadhog from Overwatch. Originally, Shanghai Moonton copied characters quite directly. For example, their version of Xin Zhao had the same visual appearance and kit, only he was named Zhao Xin instead of Xin Zhao. You know, not incredibly subtle. Riot first addressed this claim by notifying Google and Apple in a bid to get the Mobile Legends 5v5 MOBA as well as some of the other games from the developer taken off of the app stores, resulting in Moonton originally removing it from the app stores without any further notice. And before long, the game was back up on the app stores with a different name, which it now goes by as Mobile Legends Bang Bang. Looking at the current website, we can see that Shanghai Moonton has spent quite a bit of time changing the character designs in a bid to escape the lawsuit, but whether or not they'll actually get away with it is anyone's guess. Although, I would guess that they probably won't. There's still quite a lot of parallels between Mobile Legends and League of Legends champions, such as Hayabusa and Zed, for example, but this is China development we're talking about, so a lawsuit over copyright infringement isn't going to happen easily, and Riot definitely has their work quite cut out for them on this one, that's for sure. Overall, I hope you enjoyed taking an inside look at some of the absolutely shameless and completely ridiculous and hilarious ripoffs of League of Legends. I'm honestly, I gotta say, I'm not gonna link any of these games for you guys because I don't want to support any of these. It's just really funny to take a look and see what people are doing, see the kind of knockoffs, the ripoffs that's happening in the world, and honestly, I hope you guys enjoyed taking a look at these games. I certainly enjoyed researching them and putting together this video piece for you guys. If you did enjoy the video, hit that like button. Subscribe if you want. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.